Hi guys, welcome to another episode of AJAWI TV, where we discuss architectural and construction related topics. I'm AJAWI, right? I'm AJAWI. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome, right? This is a channel where we discuss architectural and construction related topics, right? I'm going to use my over 15 years of experience within the architectural industry as an architectural technologist to give you tips, my opinion, little insights, so that you can avoid certain things within the construction process as it relates to getting your building approved, avoiding breaching your property, and just overall returning to Jamaica as a returning resident and just settling and be happy living in the land of your birth, right? I want to say thank you for joining me this evening. I want to say big up to Gigi, right, or Gigi. Gigi, big up yourself. You're the first one in the building today. As usual, guys, I'm drinking water, right? What are you drinking tonight? That's the question. What are you drinking tonight? I want to say thank you for hitting the like button once you come in. It's our social contract here. I appreciate you for doing that, and I appreciate you for being an active member of our group, right? It has been an interesting week for me. How was your week? Right? How was your week? I have a few news for you guys, and we're going to be dissecting a title today. Actually, I decided that a lot of people are breaching their property and running into problems. So, what better way to help you guys avoid that than to just show you what a title is, what are restrictive covenants, because that's what we'll be discussing today. Right? What are restrictive covenants? How do you avoid breaching them? And what do they look like? Right? So, without any further ado, let's get into that particular topic. Right? Chavez, big up yourself. Chavez, big up yourself. I've never seen that name before. Sounds like you're new in the building, so I want to say big up. Right? Big up yourself. I appreciate you joining us, right? B Jackson, big up yourself. Welcome to the community, right? Guys, this week, I actually went to a little, webinar, right? I actually went to a webinar this week in relation to the changes that are happening within the building construction industry, right? There are certain changes that are coming that, well, they are here already. They are here already, that will affect you as a returning resident, as a homeowner, right? So I decided that while I was there, I was going to represent my people, right, my returning residents. So what I did was I asked them if it is that we can conduct interviews with certain players within the industry, right, and not only just players within the industry, but the authorities within the industry. So we're going to be trying to get an interview with the KSAC if possible. I don't know, don't hold me to that, right? It's just me looking out to say, okay, I want to interview them so that you guys will have the information. Alright, so I'm gonna try and get that for you guys. I've also reached out because somebody on the channel actually asked me about IFC, insulated concrete, and we reached out to Freeform Factory. They have agreed to allow us to interview them. That will be a series of more than one part series. We will interview them either on a live or pre-recorded. You guys have to let me know that which one you would rather, right? So I'm either going to interview them on a live, or I'm going to pre-record it and then post the interview, right? So those are the two formats that I normally run with, is either interview or a pre-recorded. So they have agreed to allow us to interview them, so we will do two. I know there's two interviews set. One is for us to interview them online, and the other is for us to go to the factory and get a walkthrough and just show you guys what the process is and why, you know, it's a good idea to insulate your roof, right? That's what I am looking at. How do you insulate concrete roofs, or how do you insulate certain areas within your building in order to keep it cooler, right? I've already told you guys that one of the strategies that I use is to insulate the roof of concrete, so apply a layer of foam on top of it in order to make it cooler. All right, so that's one thing that we'll be looking at. All right, so for this evening we are looking at a title and basically dissecting it to get an idea of what a restrictive covenant is, why you need to pay attention to it. I know that homeowners may not be paying attention to this, but as a designer, as somebody who is in the building industry, as a building practitioner, you need to know this and you need to pay attention to this. Alright, so I'm gonna just switch over to that and then we can go through it. Guys, please feel free to ask your questions as I go along. This series or this channel is all about you. I want you to interact on the channel. I want you to feel free to ask a question. No question is ever stupid, right? It's just a question. Alright, so feel free to ask a question. For example, this week somebody asked me about if I would do a design for a property on a captured land. It's not a stupid question, it's just that I'm going to have to answer you truthfully, and the answer is no, I don't do that. Right? You have to be able to show proof of ownership, right? Which is why we are on the title today. All right, so I hope this video helps somebody so that they make the right decisions and not breach their property. All right, so before we go into it deep, I want you to understand something. I want you to understand what is a breach and what is a covenant, right? So a covenant or a restrictive covenant is an agreement on the title. It's the conditions under which you are granted use of the property, right, or of the land. If you breach this covenant, you're in violation of that, and you know they can penalize you for using the property in that manner, right? So let's get that out of the way. What is a covenant? A covenant is an agreement as it relates to the use of the property. You have to use it in line with the covenant, right? What is a breach? Breach is when you go against what those conditions of use are, right? So if you know that you are not supposed to build a certain size structure or a certain type of building on the property, sorry about that, I'm trying to get something. If you know that you're not supposed to build a certain type of building on the property, then if you build anything contrary to that, then it's a breach of that particular covenant, and you can either get it changed, get the covenant lifted or modified, right, by the court, or you'll have to comply with the covenant, right? Another way that you can breach your property is where you build too close to the boundary. So the covenant will tell you how close you can build, or the restrictive covenant will tell you how close you're allowed to build to the road, to the side, to the left, to the right, to the back, to the front of the property, right? How close you are supposed to be in relation to the road, right? In some cases, covenants actually tell you that you have to allow right of passage onto another property. I call it ease of access, right? So when you look at the title, the first thing you're gonna see is this up here, the volume and folio, right? Volume and folio. You'll always hear me ask about that. As a technologist, when you're doing a title search, you will need to know the volume and folio of the property. This is how you will be able to find it once you're doing the search, right? So that's the first thing that you should ask for, right? The title, and if they don't have the title, then you ask for the restrictive covenant. All right. As we go down, right, these are the restrictive covenants on the property. You normally see them on it, and it normally states, right, it's normally stated that it is a restrictive covenant. All right. For this particular title, there's a lot of restrictive covenants on it, and it's because of where this property is located. All right. It's because of where this property is located why so much restrictive covenants are on it, right? It says that the restrictive covenant shall run with the land, with the above land, right? Above description herein after call the said land, and shall bind as well the registered proprietor. You'll always hear them say proprietor, land, restrictive covenant. Herein, it's just the way that they talk, or that they write the particular, covenant. You'll always see it said in that manner, right? This is just saying that no matter who owns the land, right? No matter who owns the land, the restrictive covenant still stands unless it is lifted, and it has to go through the courts before you can do that, before you can lift it. You can't just decide that you want to lift it and just say, oh, all right, it doesn't exist anymore. That's not how it works. You have to go through the court, right? And this stands throughout generation. So for example, if it is that you yourself can actually install a restrictive covenant on a property, as the property owner or the property possessor, right? You can probably say, this property shall not be sold, just for example, shall not be sold to anyone outside of your lineage or something like that. But when I was learning about it, they did state that, hey, you can actually create restrictive covenants. So for example, if you decide that you're going to install a well on your property and there's a community in the area, right? You can install a restrictive covenant on the property that states that the well should not be blocked, or access to the well shall not be impeded, right? So it's just something that is installed over time, right? There shall be no subdivision of the property, right? No subdivision. So lots of a certain size will say this. Now, subdivision, say you have a small lot, say a quarter acre, they're not gonna want you to subdivide it anymore. So if this is a larger lot, say it was a 5 acre, you may see that on it, but you can then go to the court and speak to them about it and tell them that you have an interest in subdividing the lot and you can get it lifted. But in this case, where it is so small, chances are you would not be able to lift this covenant, right? So that's restrictive covenant number 1. Number 2, the said land shall be used for residential purposes, right? So that means there are people living accommodation must be on the property. So say you want to create a house, you can do that. I normally see single family residence. So if you don't see single family residence, then you can always inquire if the property can be, well, because there's no subdivision, then you wouldn't be able to subdivide it, so you couldn't do like apartments or stuff like that. But yeah, you can only use this for for residential purposes, and you cannot go there and then say, oh, you're going to create a shop, because that's a commercial, and they won't. The council will not necessarily want to give you permission to build in such a situation. All right. Let's see what's happening in the chat. In the house, Nemshi Macfana, big up yourself, big up yourself. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for your comments. All right, I really appreciate that. Guys, don't forget to hit the comments, hit the like button as soon as you come into the live, please. Thank you, appreciate that. All right, so we're on restrictive covenant number 2. So number 3 now. No other building than one private dwelling house. See what I'm saying? So even though they say residential purposes, and a multifamily resident would be considered as a residential property, but because they say no other residence than a one private dwelling house shall be erected on the said land, and the said dwelling house shall be used for residential purposes only, and they explicitly states no commercial activities or trade or business shall be carried out on that therein, right? So you cannot do any commercial activities whatsoever. And they explicitly tell you no commercial activities, so you wouldn't be able to lift such a covenant, because the community probably not going to allow you to, right? So it says any alterations to the building shall be done only with permission of the local planning authority, the St. Catherine Parish Council, and done so that the style of the original structure is maintained, right? In some communities, they will restrict you from doing anything you want to do, right? Even though it's your house and your land, you're possessing the land at the moment, you cannot just go in and build as you feel like, right? In this particular situation. So that's restrictive covenant number 4, right? Restrictive covenant number 5 on this particular title will say not to use the said land or permit same to be used for any illegal or immoral purpose. You know, so in some situations people so that means that if you're a criminal and you use the land for doing anything like drugs and something, then you know there is a possibility that the land can be taken away from you. Right? No waste or sludge water or effluent waste shall be permitted to be discharged from the said land onto any road or onto any part of adjacent land. So basically what I must say is control, I'm not gonna say it, control your waste, right? You cannot allow wastewater, so like grey water, aka sludge, or sewage water, aka effluent. You should not be allowing that to pass from your land onto the land next to you or onto the road, right? That's what they're saying. They say no building, wall, or structure shall be erected on the said land so as to cover, conceal, obstruct, or hide access to any sewer connection, manhole, or pipe situated on the said land or on land adjacent to the land. So you can't block up certain manhole. The building itself, you can't have the manhole inside of the building. That's what I'm getting from that, right? So they need to be able to, so in some cases there are central sewage, and if the central sewage happen to pass under a part of your property, you can't block it, right? So another one, so that's the restrictive covenant number 7. This title has a lot of restrictive covenants, as you can tell, and this is because this one is in a particular community. I won't say where, right? Not to allow or cause any drains, gutter, pipe, or conduits lying on the said land to block or obstruct in any way to be blocked or in any way. So you can't, if there is a natural drain from your property, or in some cases there are multiple properties beside each other, right? And because there is a slope in that particular land, water will run in a particular direction. What they're saying is you can't block that natural flow or that flow of the water from that particular lot, right? Yeah, so you can't block the drains or the gutters or stuff like that, right? Number 9, no gate in any fence or opening upon any road or walkway shall open outward. So a lot of people, I've seen it, I see it a lot of time. They have a property and they create a gate, right? So they create the gate. So this is the road out here, so, and then there's probably a 5 feet setback, and this is they have the what do you call it, the gate here, right? And they open the gate out onto the road, so it start block the people in from walking. What they're saying is your gate should be opening inward, right? That's common. You're supposed to have a gate opening inward, right? So always keep that in mind. Let's see if I can get rid of these. Oh boy. Alright, let me erase that. Alright, okay. Alright, that's good enough. Alright, so next covenant. So we have that 10, no building or permanent structure shall be erected within. Now this is the part that is very important on your title. You should always look for this. If you're a designer, if you're an architectural technologist, architect, engineer, you must always look for this part. So this is saying no building or permanent structure shall be erected within 3 meters and 500th of a meter. So it's just saying 3.05 meter from any side road property boundary. Or there's another condition, 3 meter or 500th of a meter from any drain or drain easement, right? Or there's another condition again, 33 meters and 8/600th of a meter. So that's at 23.86 meters, and 11 meter and 20 of a meter, so 11.2, right, from the center line of the main or intersecting road respectively. So right then and there, you know how far you're supposed to be from the boundaries, from the center of the road or from the edge of the road, right? This one is saying 12 meters and 2/10 of a meter, so that's 12.2 meters and 3 meters from the boundary along the highway right, and JPS easement reserve respectively. So in some cases, because they don't want you to build so close to the power lines or the JPS lines, then they will tell you how far you're supposed to build from it, right? So this is very important. So you have to pay attention to this. Most of the times what happens is that people try to build on their own without a plan and not pay attention to this and end up breaching the property, and that sends down the value of the property. Now in certain communities you can't build without an approved plan, and if you go ahead and build without an approved plan and you violate these, then they will tell you to demolish it, right? Especially if the community is well established and they are strict on the rules and they follow it. And this is mostly in areas where there are high income people or people in middle to upper income, because they treat their property as an investment. So when you as a person who is beside them violate the covenant, then it does affect their property as well. So they will have a problem with that. Alright? Okay. So let's go down, scroll down. When I say a certified copy, this is always what I'm looking for. Alright? I always look for this stamp, certified copy. You get this from the titles office. Right? Alright, so let's go back to the other stuff, right? So let me look in the chat to see what's happening now. Just a little checkup. Right? Nemshi Makfana, when you say could I build it, what do you mean? As in, is it possible? Build it in what situation? You have to be very specific when you're asking these questions, because I'm not going to be able to answer them. Right? Byron Marshall, big up yourself. Check reality, big up yourself. Long time in a CNL building. Guys, let's see how many likes are here. Please ensure that as you come in, you hit the like. I really appreciate that. It encourages me to come on a Sunday evening and just spend some time with you guys and do this thing. So I want to say thank you in advance for hitting the like button. It really helps the channel. Right? It really helps the channel. I appreciate that. Alright, let's get back to this. Alright, so the 11th restrictive covenant, the property boundary along the Old Harbour main road should be set back a minimum of 15 meters and 24 hundredth of a meter. So that is 15.24 from the center line, and the strip of land created reserved for road improvement. A lot of time people ignore this, and then what happens is you build too close to the road, right? You build too close to the road, and what will happen? When the government come and decide they're going to improve the road, then you have to go demolish part of your building, right? so it's always funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's always interesting to see what is happening in such situations, because it could have been avoided, right? Simply by getting the right people to assist, or getting a technologist to do your building application for you, and then getting a certified person to do the actual construction, right? Alright, so no development except landscaping should be carried out within the area reserved for road improvement. Again, see, you can't go do what you feel like within that. You can only probably do landscaping, pretty it up a little, but it's not something that you would want to do, because if the government decide that they're going to widen the road, it will affect you. Alright, No bath water. No bath water. Jesus Louise, tongue tired. I'm gonna try that again. No bath water. Alright, so I was looking at something a while ago, right? Yeah, no bath, no. It's a difficult word for me. No bath water or any water except storm water shall be permitted or allowed to flow from the said land or any part thereof onto the road, street, or land adjacent thereto, but all such water as aforesaid shall be disposed of by being run into an absorption pit or by evaporation, or I don't say what I percolation. Part I cut off, but anyways, percolation on the said land. So I guess that is saying that it's, you can seep down into the soil. So you can't block the water from running from your property. You're not supposed to block it. Normally, I think this is because of this particular community and the fact that they have central drainage. But normally the government don't want you to run water off of the land onto the road. So they might tell you, say, you cannot run water off the land onto the road at all. But in this situation, they are telling you that, okay, it is okay, but we want you to also make, put things in place to reduce the amount of water that leaves your property and goes onto the road, right? I guess this depends on volume of water, right? So you always want to have a cross drain at the front of your property, and that should lead to a absorption pit, right? Alright, so number 14, no sign or hoarding or other advertisement shall be erected on the said land except with the specific permission of the parish council or Saint Catherine. Right? So in this situation, because it is a community, chances are you're not going to get any advertisement to be able to go up on the property. And in this case, because they say no sign whatsoever, no advertisement whatsoever, you can't go into them community go nail up things from the light post them, because I see that happening a lot. Them going to take it down. But yeah, if you need a sign to be erected anywhere in Jamaica, you are supposed to do an application to the parish council for them to allow you to put up that sign, right? So you can't just, because you have a shop, you just put up a sign. It's not supposed to happen, right? So there are laws, there are rules, and there are regulations that governs that, right? So next one is the drain shall not be blocked or obstructed in any way. So there is, as I said, there is central drainage within this community, and that's why they are saying that. So you can't block the drain at no point, right? There shall be no vehicular ingress or egress. This, when you see this, it means access to the property or exit from the property, right? From the said land onto Old Harbour Road, right? So they're saying you can't leave the property. You can't decide, say, you're gonna create your own gate off of the gated community. You can't do that. You have to just follow the rule, and can you imagine somebody build up them nice community and you're going to go, because you buy land in there, you decide to make one own gate for yourself? That doesn't make no sense, right? Byron Marshall, respect. Thank you for that, right? Nemshi, would it be permitted to build a duplex based on the single dwelling restriction? No, you would not. You would not. Based on this one, oh, what go on this evening? Me have so much tongue twister in this place. Alright. I'm gonna try that again. In this situation, you would not be allowed to build a duplex. None at all. Because they explicitly stated that you are not supposed to do it. Alright, so you can't buy it and just do what you want to do. Big up, work here. Oh, work have me. Oh, yeah, I realize that you haven't been here, man. Sorry about that, but at the same time, we have to just give thanks for that, though. Because we have work. Right? I appreciate you taking the time to come and spend some time with us, right? And guys, I want you to big up each other, alright? Alright. Where were we? Okay. Access or egress. Yeah, as I was saying, you can't just decide say you want to create your own gate. Not to allow the said land to be unkept or untidy, but to keep the same clean and free from undergrowth to the satisfaction of the medical officer. That's a new one. I've never seen that one before, but basically they're saying you're not supposed to allow the land to be overgrown. However, if there is landscaping, you're not supposed to allow it to be undergrown. So you're supposed to maintain it in a particular condition so that the community looks green, right? That's what I'm getting from that one. Now here's another one that is very interesting. No factories or other manufacturing enterprises shall be created on the said land. I see where people go in a community, go in a residential communities and start build up garage. Right? Them start build up garage. And even where I live, sometimes it happens and it annoys me. Like I'd be sleeping on a Sunday evening and I hear banging outside, man I work on car. It's so, and then you're smelling the oil and stuff like that. So what they're saying is you cannot go in the community, go build up manufacturing plant and all kind of certain people in the community. You cannot do that. You're not allowed to. And this is the condition under which they are allowing you to possess the land. Now if you violate these and if you violate these and they warn you and you don't cease and desist from doing so, then they can take back the land from you. Right? Or they can fine you for it. Development of the said land must be submitted to the parish council in the form of an application with detailed drawings for approval before any such development is undertaken. So this particular lot or this particular location, they're telling you that if you're doing any form of construction on the land, you're supposed to get an approval from the parish council before you go ahead and make that change to the property. But because a lot of people, what they view their title as is proof that, hey, this is my land and I have the title for it. That's what they see it as. They don't understand that the title is a document, is an agreement of how you're allowed to use the land and how you're allowed to possess the land for the time being, right? Remember, you don't necessarily own land. The crown owns the land. You possess the land. So, right, the land can be taken back from you if you decide to violate the agreement under which the land is supposed to be used. And if you don't put things in place to pass it on to your next generation, then what will happen is once you die, then the land will go back to the crown or the state, right? Drainage resulting from work done on the said land shall be satisfactorily oh boy, them tongue time, yeah, anyways, shall be satisfactorily intercepted and disposed of before it reaches the main parochial road. So while you're doing construction, try not to allow, you know, water that is mixed with, you know, the, let us say, sometimes mix our concrete, they don't want that to run into them drain and cause problems, so I'm going to ask you to intercept that, you know. Alright, the registered proprietor or the registered owner shall permit the erection of poles and guys to facilitate the extension of electricity and telephone services at all times there to be erected as near as practical to the building, to the boundary line. So sometimes them JPS come in and put in new pole, and because you build so close to the road, they're right up against your building, and sometimes you can reach out and touch the electrical line. So you know, they're saying no, right? They're saying to keep that in mind. Alright, the registered proprietor shall not in any manner interfere with the discharge of stormwater from any road onto or on the said land. Right? So what they're saying is, if water are come onto your property from the road, you can't block it. A lot of people do that. a lot of people build up a blockage so that the water don't run onto their property. But what you should really do is create a cross drain that allows the water to go into a soakaway pit, right? So yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to block the runoff of water. You're supposed to manage it, in other words, right? Let's see what else. The road authority shall not under any circumstances be liable to the registered proprietor, aka owner or occupier of the said land for any damages occasioned by stormwater flowing off the road. So like right now there's a storm here now in Jamaica, and you see a lot of situations where water run off of the road and run on and people house, mash down them house and thing. They're saying they're not responsible for that. If that happens, then you will have to take responsibility for it, and even though they're responsible for the road, right? So they're not going to take any responsibility at all, right? And you can't block the water from running onto your property. That's kind of ironic still, but anyways, surface drain stormwater runoff should be effectively intercepted and disposed of by means conforming to the approved drainage plan. Right? Exactly what I'm saying. You have to manage the stormwater runoff. So if it is that you know that you live in an area and water run whenever rainfall, a lot of water comes onto your property, I guess you'll have to install a soakaway so that once the water comes, it goes into that. And I must say to a lot of people, be careful of where you build. And if you look on TikTok right now, or Facebook, or YouTube, not YouTube, Instagram, if you search about the storm now, you'll see a lot of videos. I don't know if any is on YouTube right now, but I see a lot of videos where people are literally getting washed out because them go build beside drain, or them go build beside gully, and now that there's a storm, there's a problem because the gullies are overflowing in some situation, right? Surface, we'll go through that already. There shall be no significant deviation from the approved drainage plan without the consent of the chief. So in this situation, there's a drainage plan for the area within the community. So yeah, you can't go in there and change that. Chief Executive Officer of the National Works Agency. So again, because there's a central drain within the area, you can't make changes without approval from this person. For the purpose herein mentioned, the following estimates are hereby granted over the said land. For the purpose herein mentioned, the following easements are hereby granted over the said land. Right? So, as I said before, easement, anyways, to allow the provider of electricity. So, easement is access. Right? So you can go there, and because you upset, say JPS send you a high light bill, when them come to do them maintenance or expansion, you decide say you don't want them come by your property. You can't do that. There's an easement there, and you cannot block them. Right? So it's a to allow the provider of electricity, telephone and cable, television services to lay wire which may pass in, over, under, and upon the said land, to allow the provider of electricity and telephone services to erect pole for the purpose of carrying wire and other equipment in or near the boundaries of the said land. Again, you can't stop them from do that because there's an easement, and under the agreement for you to possess this land, you're agreeing to these conditions of the title. The title again is an agreement as it relates to you possessing the property. Alright? Let me see what's happening in the chat. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Happy 4th. Happy 4th. I'm in Jamaica. I don't really know about what is the 4th. Violet Simpson. No offense though, no offense. I don't know really what is the 4th. So, yeah. Isn't this what the developer do? What exactly are you referring to? Apply to adjust the title. Oh, okay. Yeah. Developer, if the land is of a certain size and they believe that okay, it would be profitable and beneficial to the area, to the development of the area, they will apply for a modification of the title, or lift the covenant, right? So in some cases it is granted, in some cases it is not, right? For example, the other day a particular developer invested, and I had it on the channel, invested over 100 million in a property, right? Let me carry myself back up a little bit. So a particular developer invested over 100 million in a property, and the restrictive covenant was not lifted, and he went ahead and built within the community, and the people in the community said, no, our property is being affected by this development, so therefore we have a problem with that, and as a result he had to demolish the property. He had to demolish the addition, right, or the development that he just did. So be very careful when you're making your investment. Pay attention to the restrictive covenant. It is an agreement, as I said, as it relates to the conditions under which you are allowed to possess the land, right? Yeah, but it's not all the while he's allowed to adjust it. Remember, it's not all the while he's allowed to adjust it, right? My question, do you have access to discounts for building materials? Me personally, no. I don't do hardcore construction. I mostly do the design and monitoring of the construction. So I focus mainly on design. My associate does have more of a input in the construction aspect of it, and thus he will have better rates than I do. Right? So that's just it. Right? Thanks for that question, J.R. Phillips. The land is big enough to split. How hard is it to get that removed? In this case, it will never be removed. And this particular property is very small. Right? It's under a quarter acre, so they won't lift that. And it's a community. It's a gated community, so you're not gonna lift that. Before that, them throw you out. Before that, them take back the property from you and give back your money. No offense taken. Byron said happy 4th, so I responded back happy 4th, which is independence in the US. Independence for who? That's the question. Nemshi, where's the title? Where the title speaks to the value of the building to be constructed on the property. Are you asking where does it speak to that? It does speak to that. It states on some titles, it states that you can't build any land less than I not even remember how much it is, but sometimes them tell you on the title that you cannot build a structure that is made out of zinc. Right? You can't go build up a zinc house for the people in the people in community. Or less than $1 million, right? So you can't go in them community and go build up boardhouse, right? And when I say boardhouse, I mean ply, as in some two before and ply, and just make a shack for living at them. Not going to allow you to do that, right? Where the title speaks, okay. Some of the values are outdated. How do you deal with that? Again, when you say some of the values of the property or the value of the building to be constructed, remember, you wouldn't necessarily pay attention to the fact that it's outdated. It's just that you don't want to build an old piece of shack on the people in the land or in the area to depreciate other people's property. For example, a restrictive covenant. I was dealing with a client, and the restrictive covenant on the properties within the area stated that no commercial building, no commercial activities should happen within the area. Because of the pandemic, people within the area started to do what do you call it, daycare or home, where you carry your kids in the morning and drop them off and stuff like that. And the particular person say, hey, I don't want that come affect my property, The noise and the fact say they might do illegal activities, which is understandable in that situation. Him call the council, and the council come stop it, right? So you have to pay attention to your title. Pay attention to the agreement that you have when you buy the land. A lot of people don't see it as that. You're making an investment, and with that investment you're signing an agreement on how you will possess that property. Alright? Let's see what else you have here. Oh, you were asking for a different area. Yeah, $3,000, but you have to look at remember $3,000 back in a them time then, and no, you have to appreciate that as in there's an increase in value. So $3,000 then is not the same as $3,000 now. But even so, can you imagine making a house out of $3,000? That no makes sense. But them just I tell you say you cannot go and build something that is of no value and that adds no value to the properties within the area. So keep that in mind, right? And yeah, I do understand what you mean, but come on, it's most of the laws in society don't make no sense, and some of them should not be law, but they are there, and remember they are written by men, and nothing that is done by men is perfect, right? It have loophole and all kind of stuff like that. How long would it take to adjust a restrictive covenant if it can be done? It takes a good while. And that is why you find most developers, they will go ahead with the development and apply for the restrictive covenant to be lifted, and actually start the development. Some of them finish the development before them actually get the lifting of the restrictive covenant, and sometimes that is the problem. Sometimes they apply for it and they build with the anticipation or with the hopes that it will be lifted, and if it is not lifted, that's when they run into problems, because they went ahead and build without lifting the covenant first, right? So it can take years, right? Because it can take years, it take a long time, right? So how do you equate 3,000 to today's value? That's a good question. Get a valuator. A valuator would be perfect in this situation. But come on, back in the days, $3,000. If you have $3,000, you're rich in a bridging. Can you imagine in a 1890 something, or what, 1802, you have $3,000 in your bank account? You're rich in a bridging. Stay there, especially if that is 3,000 US. Well, no, the US dollar was not that strong at that point. But you get what I mean. If you had $3,000 in your account back then and it appreciated to now, it's a lot of money. But I get why you said that, them shit. I get why you said that. But I like this discussion today. Again, I never exhausted all of these, but you get the idea what you should be looking for whenever you are whenever you have your title. Your title is not just to say, yo, yeah man, own piece of land. No, it is an agreement. It is an investment, right? When you're building, think of it as an investment. You're investing in, and I had this problem with somebody this week where I'm trying to get them to think that way, because it makes it that much easier for me to design for them. And they were like, no, but I don't have money, you know, and they're like, I'm not thinking of it as an investment, I just want to build and and I'm like, no, don't think of it like that. Think of it as making an investment, right? And the title guides that investment. So don't go and say, oh, because the person wanted to breach the property, and I have to tell him that, hey, I can't do this project with you. I can't do this for you, because first of all, they're gonna find me and say, oh, you know better, and you go breach the property. So guess what? Are your liability that, right? Right. So the person was telling me that, hey, I want to kick out a stairs, just push out a stairs at this position, and they're already on the mark for the restrictive covenant setback, you know, right? They're on the setback. So if they should push out anymore, it's going to breach the property. Now, first of all, for me to go to the parish council and get that passed, that's going to be difficult, right? So I'm not gonna be able to get it passed. I'm going to waste time. And with my guarantee is that, hey, if me do your plan, it a go pass, right? And if I do anything contrary to that, it can't go pass. So therefore, you know, me can't guarantee you in such a situation. So I just have to walk away, right? I just have to walk away because it's not beneficial to both of us. Anywho, the next question: how do you go about getting details on the piece of land for purchase, and also is if the land is owned by someone who has been paying their taxes, could one acquire that piece of land? Wow, that's a good question. Alright, let me answer it in sections based on how you ask. How do you go about getting details on the piece of land? Title. If the seller really is serious about selling the property, you can always ask them for the volume and folio of the property, or you can go online and search for it. Just go online. Well, it's kind of difficult to do it unless you have a lot of experience with it. I actually offer that service where I'll sit down with you and go through it. So if I'll have like a consultation with somebody, that is a part of the consultation where I just sit down and I search for the property with you, because you have to be able to go between Google Earth and iMap Jamaica and then just match the two of them. So normally I try to, it's a little bit difficult. Go and look at, I did a video on that, how to find title for any land before you buy it, so that you can have the information, right? So that's one. The two, if the landowner, if the land is owned by somebody who has been paying the taxes, you can always use the volume and folio and go to, and the valuation number on the title, and go to the tax office and pull the property taxes for that particular property before you buy it, so that you know exactly if the taxes are being paid on the property. All right, I hope that answers your question. All right, next question. So how would they be able to start building without the go ahead from the KCC? Again, don't say KCC, say parish council, because remember, there are multiple parish councils across the island, and KCC does not approve drawings for St. Thomas, St. Catherine, Montego Bay. Everybody say KCC, but that's not it. For the parish council. Alright, so now that we get that out of the way, the council will give you what is considered as a conditional building approval, right, or construction approval, or permit. What that means is that they are okay with the building that you have proposed. They are okay with it. They don't see anything wrong with it. But a part of the condition that they will state is that you are supposed to get the covenant lifted before you do construction. And as long as you make the application to have it lifted, normally once they come there, they're gonna look at the approved drawings and say, okay, you're good, you're going along, all right, no problem. But you as a developer, when you're there and you are building and knowing that you have a covenant being lifted, it's a chance you take, right? Because it not have to be lifted. But sometimes you evaluate it and you're like, but this not make no sense. But again, the people within the area have a say, right? The people within the area have a say. So that's where the problem comes in certain situations. Like the last one that I did a video on it, right? Go on the channel and look through the videos. I do these videos for you guys so that you know what's happening, right? Once yeah, you have to get a lawyer because you have to go to the courts to get it lifted. But what I'm saying is, once they have the building approval and they're building, if people in the area say no to lifting of the covenant because it is going to affect their property, the value of their property, then chances are they're not gonna want it to lift it, right? And if them put on them foot, then you just have to comply, right? Byron, if I submit the drawing for what I want to build on a restricted covenant property, is that what? I don't understand your question, to be honest. Every property has, no, not let's not say every property. Most properties have a restrictive covenant, and you submit your drawings complying with the restrictive covenants. Alright? You should be complying with it, and the person who is designing it should comply, so that you don't run into problems. And it's for your own good. Most of the times it's for your own good. Cousin, wouldn't KCC need to get the covenant with the drawings in order to get the drawings approved? Yes. They would need to get the title. The title has the restrictive covenants on it. If the developer submits a set of drawings and developer submit proof that he has applied for the restrictive covenant to be lifted, then the parish council will process the drawings and will give a conditional approval. That's what I'm saying. I've seen situations where there is a conditional approval, right? Yvonne Barcos, big up yourself. Or Yvonne, sorry, I pronounced your name bad a while ago. Yvonne Barcos, big up yourself. My father's first car was $5,000. Over money that. See the same thing? You know, imagine a car now, couple millions well. Right? Much thanks. Get a lawyer. Yeah. Check reality. Yeah, get your lawyer. Check out if it can be lifted, if it is that you decide that you want a multifamily. But sometimes it's best to stick with the covenant. If you have a restrictive covenant where say you can't build within certain distance and you go build there, you're gonna have to get the restrictive covenant lifted if you don't want to knock off the building. Chances are them are gonna tell you, say, knock it off. Right? Like if you build out, say, a foot over the boundary, you can always apply for a lifting of that restrictive covenant, because it's just a 6 inches. They will be more likely to allow you in such a situation because it's 6 inches. But if you disregard the restrictive covenant what's all together and go build on the boundary when you're supposed to be 10 feet from that boundary, they're gonna tell you knock it off. They're gonna tell you say you should have adhered to the restrictive covenant, and based on the area. Alright, Constant Spring Road, good example. Constant Spring Road, the other day they were widening the road, right? And a lot of people lose part of them building because them did build so close to the road. In such a situation, it become you can't do nothing about it because you build and breach the property. In some situations, people get back money, or them get money because the government widen the road and it chop off piece of them property, woolly pipe, but it never affect them building or the structure itself. So there isn't a problem, right? So keep that in mind. Again, guys, as you can see down below, these are the services that I offer within my business, right? Guys, head on over to my YouTube page, even about YouTube, Instagram page, and hit the like, hit the follow, right? Follow along my journey. Head on over to my couples channel, which is Life with Karen Dre. That's where I post most of the stuff that are exciting, right? Most of the stuff that are exciting. Life with Karen Dre is my other YouTube channel. I want to say thank you for liking and thank you for subscribing to that, right? If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining us. We're here every Sunday. I try to be here every Sunday, except if things are going on in my life. You know. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for accepting my social contract of hitting the like button as you come in. But also, if you hit the like button, you are a good supporter of the channel, and I really appreciate you. Alright, thank you for this evening. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I hope this helped you. And as somebody who is new within the, or somebody who just leaves school and I go out into the working world, if you're watching this video, you know, the resources are here for you as well, right? Returning residents, big up on yourself. So, mega let you know. Nico Palmer, big up yourself. Welcome into the building. Check reality. Zesty. FIFA's best player. Big up yourself. It's so like you have some weight behind that name, man. FIFA's best player. Byron Marshall, big up yourself. JR Phillips, big up yourself. So if you build like 3 feet from boundary and the covenant says 5 feet, what's the best approach? Try and get it lifted. If not, you have to knock it off. Let's see who else is in the building. Nemshi McFana, big up yourself. Nemshi, where are you from? I don't know if I asked you that before. I like your name. Let's see who else is here. Byron Marshall. I don't see Gigi. What's up? And I don't see Royce. You Bingram. Big up yourself. Who else? Big up yourself. B Jackson. Gigi. Big up yourself as well. Shelvez, I can never pronounce your name properly. I'm sorry about that, man. Yeah, big up yourself. I have a half-acre property in a development that all of the other properties are quarter acres. The covenant said 1 house only. If you have a half acre, you can possibly get that lifted. Just, you know, make an application. Half acre is a nice size lot, so depends on where it is. But that should be able to be subdivided. Well, not subdivided. Get splinter titles or strata for it. Like if you put out an apartment on it, everybody can own their own title. So yeah. Alright guys, Yvonne, big up yourself. Guys, I'm out. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you. Alright? See you later. Big up yourself.